Hello, friends. Thank you for coming back to our presentation. So, in the last, we are discussing about how to install the development platform for our Node MCU programming. Like we have to program something in Node MCU, how to install, how to make a base so that we can do the perform the programming in our Node MCU. Now, the next part, which we are going to discuss in today's presentation, is selecting the board and port. Selecting the Node MCU ESP8266 board and port of your project is essential to establish the correct communication and programming connection between your computer and the Node MCU board. Like selecting the board upon the Arduino IDE or any Node MCU, launching the Arduino integrated development environment on your computer, then we have to go to the tools and board and select and navigate to the tool menu or the board. Then select the Node MCU from the sub-menu of choosing Node MCU option. And then we have to select the port. To connect your Node MCU ESP8266 port, we have to use USB cable. And we have to select the appropriate port according to our requirement, whether we are using Mac OS or in Linux base that correspond to your connected Node MCU. Then we have to verify the selection that whatever we have chosen, our Node MCU is a correct board or not. Up, like we have to upload a simple sketch, an Arduino sketch or blank sketch, and upload that using that Arduino ID. Then we have to monitor the output through serial monitor in ID. If you expected the output or any debugging information from your sketch, it means your board and port selections are correct. So these are the basic steps we need to perform while selecting the board and port. Next, next topic, that is installing libraries and add-ons on Node MCU. On installing libraries and add-on is something you are providing some kind of command which our Node MCU had to perform. Which kind of command you are going to provide in our Node MCU so that it can function and give you a required output. Like we have to install the libraries in our Arduino IDE, like Arduino IDE integrated development environment through our library manager. And we have to search the library manager and whatever the library you want to install. See, library is something, it's a kind of collection of data into a single page. So whatever the information you are going to provide your Node MCU, it's totally depend upon the project requirements which you are going to create. For example, guys, like when we are learning any subject, we are going through that particular subject and we want to know more about that subject in an informative manner. So we go to our library where we found a collection of information regarding that particular topic. The same thing with our Node MCU. So if we want to perform any kind of operation, any kind of function, we need to have a specific library according to that. So that that library allows you to perform any specific task in a proper manner. Whether we have to blink that LED, whether we have to perform any kind of operation we want. So that's the reason we select the library. When you find the library, you need and click the install button. That from an IDE platform I'm talking about. Adding board support, that is something, add-on is something an extraordinary things which is not essential, which is not an permanent or it's kind of a compulsory requirement of your project, but it can be added. It can be a plus or bonus kind of thing that you are going to add on in your project. So to support that Node MCU ESP8266 as a board in the Arduino IDE, you will need to install some specifically and some important add-ons. Here it's just showing a simple example how the libraries have been installing in Arduino IDE platform. So we need to install that in additional board manager URL, and we can choose the preferences we want to and select the board manager. And the same thing, it install all the add-ons which is required, which we want to configure with our Node MCU. So by following these kind of steps, you can install your libraries and board support add-on for Node MCU ESP8266 in the Arduino IDE. You can now develop and upload code to your Node MCU ESP8266 board with ease. Now we need to test up our Node MCU. It's a time to test up whatever we have given the commands, whatever the instruction which we have given. Now it's a higher time to test whether that command is working or not. Testing your setup in Node MCU involves verifying that your hardware is connected correctly and that your software codes run as expected. So some like basic step that need to perform that, like basic blink test we can perform. It's a great way to check whether the Node MCU is functioning correctly or not. This test will run LED on and off, like connect an LED to one of the GPIO pins of Node MCU and write a basic sketch in the Arduino IDE to blink the LED on and off. That upload the sketch on your Node MCU, and if everything is set up correctly, the LED should blink at the specified rate. Serial communication test. It allows you to send and receive data between your Node MCU and your computer. To test serial communication, upload a sketch that send data to the serial monitor. Open that serial monitor in the Arduino IDE and show that Node MCU sends the expected data to the serial monitor. Then we have to check for the Wi-Fi connection test. Like if you plan to use Wi-Fi connectivity, test the Node MCU ability to connect to a Wi-Fi network. Upload a sketch that connect to your Wi-Fi network using your network credential. Monitor the serial monitor to check if the Node MCU successfully connect to the Wi-Fi network. Sensor or peripheral test. If your project involves sensor or peripherals, write a sketch to test your functionality. Connect the sensor to the appropriate GPIO pins. Write a sketch, verify the sensor. So these are the some common tests that we need to perform to check whether our setup is made correctly or not. MQTT is basically used to send the data to an MQTT broker or a web server. Check whether that data is successfully transmitted to the server, and monitoring the error messages, firmware and library edits that we have to test. So the like by following these testing steps, you can confirm that Node MCU setup is working as expected and identify address any issue may arise during development. So these are the some common steps that we need to perform in our Node MCU ESP8266 working or functioning. I hope guys you get to understand that how we install and process Node MCU. In the further videos, we will discuss more about Node MCU, what is Node MCU and why that Node MCU concept is very important. So I hope you're able to understand my all the points. If you have any queries, you are feel free to contact and give the questions. Thank you guys and have a nice day. Happy coding.